There's a growing trend among the MCU where an existing male character is sidelined in his own show or movie in favor of a stronger, smarter, and just all around better female character. We've seen this numerous times already, and Doctor Strange is now the latest addition to that ever growing pile of garbage. As Doctor Strange is most certainly not the main character in his own movie. Instead, he's been demoted to the goofy sidekick role that is constantly getting into trouble and always needs to be rescued. Suffice it to say, if you went into this movie excited to see Doctor Strange, then you'll definitely leave disappointed, but that's not the only problem, far from it. The entire movie is an utter mess. There are problems with continuity, the plot is paper thin with absurdly contrived situations, the dialogue is awful and cringy, stupid, largely pointless cameos were just stuffed into it just for the sake of having cameos, and worst of all, the entire movie, from start to finish, is a non-stop woke dumpster fire that of course emphasizes the MCU.
She was such a strong female woman.
I'll be making a full breakdown of this movie as soon as it becomes available as a digital release, but for now I want to go over a brief synopsis and touch on some of the high points, or rather I should say the low points of this movie. I don't feel like I really need to say this, but I will anyways for anyone that happens to be new to the channel. This video, like all my other videos, will contain spoilers, but it's not really something that you should have to worry about since this movie is so terrible, you shouldn't be watching it anyways. That's why I'm here. I will suffer through this garbage so that you don't have to.
Give me something for the pain and let me die.
But unfortunately, there was another new character added to the movie, and it's one of the most awful and cringe to ever exist. America Chavez was pulled right out of the Marvel bucket of colossal woke failures and slapped into this movie. And she won't be the only one, of course. There are several other massively failed comic book characters like Ms. Marvel, Ironheart, and the ever-forgettable female Thor that will soon rise from the sewers to grace the MCU. All of these characters are some of the least popular, lowest-selling comics in history, and yet Disney and Marvel is cramming them into their new properties in order to pander to the woke weirdos. But for now, we'll just stick to this movie and look at Chavez. And to give you a small idea of just how terrible and cringe this character truly is, here is an example of some of her dialogue.
Nobody ever wanted to see that shit.
Yes, that's real. This character was created for the explicit purpose of pandering to woke blue hair weirdos and pushing their insane agendas, and you can bet that a whole bunch of that carries over into this movie. However, there are some really funny things surrounding this character and the release of the movie that I absolutely have to mention. You see, during the entire movie, Tampon Girl is wearing the badge of the Alphabet Mafia, and that's because Disney wants to show how supportive they are. You know, except when it comes to China. Because in China, you can almost guarantee earning hundreds of millions of dollars on any released movie, but China is extremely strict on what kind of content they will allow.
I am a proud member of the Communist Party.
So of course Disney, being the hypocritical bastards that they are, went in and had the Mafia badge and all references to the gay edited out of the movie in order to make it more suitable for the Chinese censors. But here's where it gets funny. Because after Disney went through and removed and edited everything they needed to, they passed it off to the Chinese government, who still decided to ban the movie. And that's because during one of the fight scenes, you can very briefly see a Chinese newspaper that's on screen for only about 3 seconds. However, this happens to be a very particular newspaper that is critical of the Chinese government, which is a big no-no. So Disney, being the super ally hypocritical bastards that they are, went ahead and removed everything in reference to the gay to try to get it past the Chinese censors, only to still get shot down because of a 3-second view of a newspaper.
Know your fucking place, trash.
But there's even more to this fiasco, because despite the fact that this character was created by woke weirdos specifically to pander to other woke weirdos, it still wasn't enough. Because when the character actress was revealed, all of those blue hair woke weirdos started complaining that the actress's skin color wasn't dark enough.
Well, I definitely am not white.
And that's because the woke weirdos will never be satisfied. No amount of pandering will ever be enough. Disney tried to play both sides in this situation. They tried to pander to both the woke weirdos and the Chinese censors, and they lost on every account. But let's get to the plot of the movie. It starts with an alternate version of Doctor Strange and Tampon Girl being chased by a demon. It's trying to capture her so that it can steal her powers. And this version of Doctor Strange almost immediately betrays her and ends up dying a few seconds later while she escapes to the main MCU. Meanwhile, Doctor Strange from the primary MCU is attending Christine's wedding, which is hilariously artificial. When looking at the people sitting in the church, there is absolutely no question that there was a literal checklist with a quota being applied to all of the extra characters in this scene. There's a Muslim woman sitting next to an Asian man, who's sitting next to a black woman, who's sitting next to a Hispanic man, and you get the idea. On and on it goes. It's like they were trying to have representation for absolutely every single race and culture that exists throughout the entire world. It is painfully, obviously phony and ridiculous.
Everything woke turns to shit.
Anyways, another demon attacks, and Doctor Strange and Wong are able to fight it off and meet with Tampon Girl. She gives them a brief rundown of the situation and how the demons are trying to steal her power, which is the ability to move through the multiverse. She then asks them if they have any experience with the multiverse, and both Doctor Strange and Wong reference the magic spell that was used with Spider-Man.
I'm sorry. What?
We're not even a few minutes into the movie, and the writers are already breaking their own continuity. This is entirely inconsistent with what has already been established. The magic spell cast by Doctor Strange at the end of the movie Spider-Man No Way Home made everyone forget not just Peter Parker, but all of the events that had occurred. This is why fake MJ and Ned had no memory of ever even being at the battle that happened at the Statue of Liberty. It's not just that they forgot that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, it's that they forgot absolutely everything about those events. This is what the spell did. Because of this, neither Doctor Strange nor Wong, who wasn't even there, should have any memory of those events at all. It's not just that the MCU writers are ignoring established canon, they're not even paying attention to the movie that was just released that directly proceeded into this one. So they bring her to Kamar-Taj where they think she'll be safe, and Doctor Strange goes to see Wanda because the demons have symbols similar to witchcraft. And here we get one of the dumbest lines in the movie, where she asks if Doctor Strange is visiting her because of what happened in Westview. But he says no, what she did was bad, but in the end, she did the right thing.
Dumb people are always blissfully unaware of how dumb they really are.
And that's pretty much it about the Westview situation. It's entirely glossed over and ignored for the rest of the movie. The very idea that she somehow did the right thing is entirely nonsensical. She captured and tortured an entire town of people for months. Her letting them go does not equate to doing the right thing. It's like stabbing someone and then offering them a band-aid because it's the right thing to do. It doesn't equal out. Up until this point, the movie has made a big deal about creating the mystery around who is sending the demons, but then Wanda very casually simply reveals that she's the one responsible. And you have to wonder, why would they do that? Why would they build up the mystery only to immediately reveal the solution? And of course, it has to do with that unfortunate thing, subverting expectations.
Oh, not this again.
Having a twist and subverting the expectations of your viewership in and of itself is not a bad thing, but it needs to be done in the correct way. Unfortunately, ever since Roundhead Rian Johnson ruined The Last Jedi, every other hack, no-talent writer in Hollywood has been trying to do the same thing, where they will constantly add these stupid and nonsensical twists and try to subvert the expectations of the viewers in ways that just didn't really need to be included. And unfortunately, this isn't the only time it happens in the movie. There are several more occasions where you have your expectations subverted in rather dumb and lazy ways. But continuing, the reason why Wanda wants to steal the power from Tampon Girl is so that she can travel to another universe where she can then be with her children that actually exist in that universe. But oddly enough, Vision is not in this movie at all, and they almost never even bring him up. I think he's mentioned once or twice throughout the entire movie. That brings up another good question. At the end of the WandaVision series, Vision, the real Vision, was brought back to life. His body was reactivated, and he was able to get all of his memories back. So you're telling me from the end of that WandaVision series until now, Vision has never tried to contact Wanda, and Wanda has never tried to find him? The movie completely ignores this, and Wanda behaves as if she simply doesn't care about Vision anymore, which makes absolutely no sense.
For some reason.
Regardless, Wanda attacks Kamar-Taj, killing most everybody there, and kicks Doctor Strange ass until the point where Tampon Girl needs to save him by opening a portal to another reality. And this is the first of many times that Doctor Strange needs to be saved by strong female character in his own movie. The two arrive in a new universe where we get one of the laziest pieces of plot development I have ever seen. The Earth of this particular reality has a significant technological advantage over the Prime MCU. As Doctor Strange and Tampon Girl are walking through the city, they come across a store that apparently sells your own memories. If a person steps on a device that's embedded into the sidewalk outside the store, and somehow it's able to instantly replay a memory from that person's past. But it doesn't just allow you to relive it, instead it projects the entire memory onto a gigantic video screen that everyone is capable of seeing, and right away you can probably figure out there's some pretty big problems with this system. There are going to be any number of inappropriate memories that would be on display for everyone to see. But instead of getting some random embarrassing memory, which almost certainly would have happened, each character gets the single most important memory that is absolutely crucial for the plot to move forward. Doctor Strange sees a memory of him receiving a watch as a gift from Christine, which he then needs to use in order to solve some sort of puzzle later on and escape a dangerous situation.
Very convenient.
However, when Tampon Girl steps on the memory device, she sees the first time she accidentally used her power, which pulled her through the multiverse, while possibly killing her own mother and her mother's special overnight friend. And her memory is extremely important for the plot development at the end of the movie. I cannot express how utterly contrived and immeasurably lazy this entire scene is. The writers needed to include important information that could be used later to solve plot problems, and rather than having this information develop naturally through dialogue or experience, instead, it's simply shown on a giant screen for the characters to see through some sort of bullshit memory technology. This is the absolute epitome of lazy fucking writing, but don't worry, it gets worse. Something that I noticed during the video of the memory was that for some bizarre reason, the memory is not shown as it should be through the eyes of the person, because that's how memories work. Instead, the memory is being projected as if it's displayed and recorded by a third-person camera that was somehow floating around in the area. This is not what memories look like when you try to remember them. You would not be able to see the events that are occurring behind you. Even if we accept the idea of the bullshit memory technology, there is still absolutely no way it would be able to know what was happening behind the person, because those things are not themselves in the person's memory. They were never witnessed. So not only is this entire scene stupid, contrived, and lazy, it also just doesn't make any damn sense. The two are eventually captured by a superhero group called the Illuminati, but there's another little tidbit of inconsistency. During the discussion about the multiverse, Doctor Strange is told that he comes from Universe 616, which is wrong. The MCU Prime Universe is 199999. Earth 616 is the comic book universe. Now, both the MCU and the comic book universe are supposed to exist within the same multiverse, so they can't both be Earth 616. That's not how it works. And Earth 616 in the comics is dramatically different from the MCU. Why is this important? Because again, it shows that the writers don't pay attention to the source material and they have no idea what they're doing.
I am shocked and appalled.
Regardless, the members of the Illuminati are Black Bolt from that incredibly awful TV show, Peggy Carter, who has the super serum, Mordo as the Sorcerer Supreme, Maria Rambeau as Captain Marvel, who somehow manages to be even more insufferable than Brie Larson, which I didn't really think was possible, but congrats, I guess. The last two members are the biggest surprise cameos, which is Charles Xavier, once again played by Patrick Stewart, and Mr. Fantastic, who is played by John Krasinski. But don't get too excited, because these characters only have about 2 minutes worth of screen time until they get unceremoniously killed off. Wanda uses a spell to take over the body of the other alternate Wanda that exists within that universe, and then she tracks down Doctor Strange and Tampon Girl. She goes to the building and is confronted by 4 of the members of the Illuminati. Mordo and Professor X stay behind to talk to Doctor Strange, but the others go to fight Wanda, and I use the word fight loosely because both Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt die instantly. Of course, this is because the MCU has become the MCU, and only Peggy and Captain Marvel are able to actually fight against Wanda because gotta cram in as many of those girl power scenes as possible.
Be when it fits a woman.
Eventually, Wanda takes out those 2 as well, but they're the only ones that were able to put up a fight. All of the other male members of the Illuminati are just completely and utterly destroyed with absolutely no effort in any way whatsoever. It is just ridiculous and painfully obvious what they were doing with this scene.
Great job, Morty. A feminist masterpiece.
But what's worse is that this stupid scene once again breaks continuity and creates yet more problems moving forward. Because the way that she deals with Mr. Fantastic is she uses her powers to kind of unravel and stretch him out until he just kind of stops being alive, which doesn't make any sense. Because if you know anything about Mr. Fantastic from the comics, that is his power. It's the stretchy thing. You can stretch him an incredible amount. You can unravel the character. It's not going to kill him in any way. Again, it's the writers of this movie just not paying attention to the source material. But what's even dumber is that this whole process takes about 10 seconds to happen, and in the meantime, none of the other members of the Illuminati do anything to try to stop it. They just kind of stand there looking dumbfounded. And then we have what happens to Black Bolt. Now, his power is to project energy out of his mouth. Even speaking or whispering causes a massive amount of energy to be released. So the way that Wanda deals with this is she just makes his mouth disappear, exactly like what happened in The Matrix.
Write that down, write that down!
So Black Bolt panics and he tries to use his power, which is bottled up inside of his own head, and then causes it to explode and he dies. Wanda is able to do this because of her chaos magic, which has reality warping attributes to it. But I have to ask, if she can simply remove a character's mouth, then why wouldn't she do that for any enemy that she comes across? And she wouldn't have to remove their mouth. She could remove their heart or their brain or their lungs. Why doesn't she do this for the rest of the fight with Captain Marvel and Peggy Carter or Doctor Strange or anyone else that she ever comes into contact with? She could just make their heart disappear and that would be the end of the fight. And why doesn't she do this? And the answer is because the writers are terrible and they don't know what they're doing. They wanted to create a cool-looking scene that they could have Wanda deal with both Mr. Fantastic and Black Bolt, but then it brings up problems where why doesn't she just continue doing this? And the way that they deal with it is they just make Wanda forget that she can, and for the rest of the movie, she never does this sort of thing again, which is really dumb and lazy. The rest of the movie can be boiled down to Doctor Strange travels around getting his ass handed to him, and he needs to be rescued by one strong woman character or another. And at one point, he's being attacked by some sort of angry spirits, and he can't figure out how to deal with them until Christine has to explicitly tell him, hey, dummy, use magic on the spirits, because apparently Doctor Strange forgot that he could use magic. But what's truly awful is the final battle and the culmination of the movie, where it sees Doctor Strange getting slapped around by Wanda until eventually he's just laying on the ground helpless like a little bitch and needs to be rescued by Tampon Girl, who's able to defeat Wanda. He has been sidelined to the point where he's not even the hero in his own movie. But don't worry, it gets worse. During the post-credit scene, we have a look at what's in store for Doctor Strange in the future, and it turns out he's going to continue being a bitch. While Doctor Strange is walking down the street, he's suddenly met with a woman named Clea. She immediately insults him and calls him a coward. She also accuses him of being responsible for an incursion, which is when two universes collide and destroy each other. She demands that he follow her so he can fix it, so we already know what's going to happen in Doctor Strange 3. He's going to continue being nothing more than a side character in his own movie in favor of a strong woman character. At this point, I get the distinct feeling that the alternate Doctor Strange that died earlier in the movie ended up with the better situation because at least now he doesn't have to see how much of a joke Doctor Strange has become in the MCU.